They're rolling out Star Studio.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Malik Brown, here for Rolling Out Star Studio in the Black. And today I have the pleasure to speak with Dave Harris. He is the playwright of the play Exception to the Rule. Mr. Dave, how are you doing today?
Good. How you feeling?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. And I've spoken to the actors, the actresses, the directors, and it's finally good to kind of bring everything full circle with you, because you're the guy that makes everything run. So it's good to be speaking with you, man. First question I've asked everybody, what does exception to the rule mean to them? And I definitely would love to know, what made you want to create something like this, exception to the rule?
Yeah, so this play has been in development for a really long time. I would say that I started writing this play. I grew up in West Philly, in Philadelphia, and was given this mentality from school and from education that the point of education was to grow and evolve so that you can leave and go somewhere better than the place that you grew up. And so for me, the idea of when I was in middle school and high school, the idea was, oh, I'm going to go off to college to escape my home, because I grew up, our family was very poor, and so my mentality became around that. How do I escape this place that I've known my entire life? And the play kind of came out of interrogating that drive from the start of what's the cost of staying in the place that is your home, and what's the cost of leaving it? What do you give up? I think particularly in the American theater, to write this play in the theater means I've always had tension with the idea of success often means putting plays up in places different from where your family is. So success in the theater means, oh, I'm not doing shows in Philly. It means I'm doing shows in New York where the tickets can be really expensive. Thankfully, they're only $30 for this show. But in general, it's like, oh, you're bringing your work that comes from this place to a place that's supposedly better. And so for me, this play became a metaphor for these 6 kids stuck in a high school detention, where they're stuck here. They're not sure if they can leave. Like, are they the reason they're not leaving? Is the system the reason they're not leaving? And there's one person who could potentially escape. So what's it like to be that one person who has that option?
Man, I love that. Just talking to the six actors and actresses, they told me a little bit of their role, but for you, how were you able to kind of make these characters come to life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're all based on different parts of me, and they're also based. The most fun part about this play, honestly, is that it's about 6 Black teenagers who are fully just teenagers, so like, and they're like cursing every other word, just like sex jokes, all these things. It's just like how it's just giving us all a chance to embrace this side that probably in a lot of ways, gets policed out of you through school and through a lot of where you're like taught like, oh, I can't be this way. So for this detention, it was like, how do we create this world where these kids can be a little buck wild, and that's, I think, been the most fun part of this process. And that's what, the actors and Miranda, the director, have been so incredible by creating a space that feels distinctly like it's for us and it's built for us to sort of embrace that side of ourselves.
And just why was it so important for you to do something like that, as far as making things relatable when it comes to Black representation in theater? How important is that, when you can look out on the stage and you're like, oh man, like that person looks like me, they probably went through the things I went through, relatable. Just how important is Black representation when it comes to theater?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's most important is when you can see something that gives you permission that you didn't know you had before. So there are times in my life where I know I didn't know how I had the option to embrace the side of myself, or I didn't know I had the option to write the way I wanted. And then I saw someone do something that felt courageous or bold, or I felt like, oh, they're making the choice to stand in something. And I was like, oh my God, now I have permission that I didn't have before. And that's come actually not exclusively through through Blackness, but through like anything where I see it and I'm just like, oh my God, I could not have imagined that existing on a stage. And now that I've seen it, I now know where I can push myself, and that's come through, I remember like early in my playwriting career, I would like read certain Katori Hall plays and I would be like, oh, wow, you're doing something I had never imagined, or I've never seen someone talk like that on stage. Or I would read certain like Brad Jacob Jenkins plays, like Julia Cho plays. It would be like, oh my God, this is an incredible mind at work. Now I have to think about that and now build upon that, and so for me, I'm like, how do I build work? How do I make work that gives people permission to think in a way that they might not have thought before?
Yeah, definitely feel you. And I'm talking to a few people, they talked about, you guys kind of started before COVID, and then, you had to stop and everything like that. But besides COVID, you had the other things going on with the protesting and George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, like all of those, people, and, just hearing, everybody talk about the play, it kind of brings up, those issues that still may be going on in society in today's world. When all that stuff happened, right? And I mean, of course, it's still happening. Did it change the way you viewed the play? Did you change anything about the play? Did it, does this play kind of exemplify some of the things that have happened over the past 3 years?
I think certainly, but I also, the issues that happened, a summer ago are the same ones that were happening 10 summers ago, are the same ones that were happening 50 summers ago. And the most fun part for us about creating this play is that there's these 6 kids in detention and they're not sure how long they've been in this room. So they could have been in this room for an hour. They could have been in this room for a year. They could have been in this room for 30 years. Time becomes hazy and nebulous in this metaphor. And I think that's a lot of that's kind of how I think about Black history and our trajectory in this country, in the sense of everyone is still essentially combating the same exact dynamics that were present 200 years ago. So when I think about current events versus, feels like Trayvon Martin was the first one where police brutality was like launched into people's minds. Then I'm like, oh no, that's a lie. Rodney King was. Then I'm like, oh no, that's a lie. So there's no time becomes so circular, I think, in Black history. And so for this play, it exists in this space where time is hazy and we can't tell what's progress, what's abandonment, what's selling out. It's all just these characters trying to survive. And I think that's the essential narrative since Black people were first brought to this country.
Definitely agree. Man, just, talking to everybody, they think you're an amazing person. They just literally brought you about the blue. They've talked about, how it is working with you and how, put them in positions to succeed and things like that. Where did you just get this greatness from? This, how did you become the person that you are today?
Oh, that is so sweet. It is also so such a shared feeling. Like this cast is one of the greatest ensembles I've ever worked with in my life. And that all starts with our director, Miranda, who's just been fearlessly leading it and fearlessly making this a place where we can just be happy in ourselves. I've been writing in one form or another in my life, all my entire life. Like I wrote my first play when I was in 7th grade. Never thought it was going to be a thing, but it wasn't until like halfway through college that a teacher sort of made me, I was on a cognitive science track and a teacher kind of like beat that out of me and was like, you're lying to yourself. You're just scared. And I was like, you're right. I don't know. I think for me, writing is always a process of just relentlessly questioning and like relentlessly pushing and complicating ideas. And so for me, every project I write starts with, I have to do that for myself in order to hopefully do that for an audience. So for me, it kind of starts with like thinking about like a very simple question and pushing beneath that until we're not sure what we believe. And I think for me, that's what I hope to unlock through any process, is one that we can all sort of bring ourselves to, and one that by the end we can kind of be questioning something that we thought we held true. And I think that for me is the greatest gift of theater, is that in live real time, you can build something that then makes people question the fabric of where they come from and where they are. And if I can, and if at the bare minimum, I can do that for myself through my writing, then I succeeded. Like it's just a very fortunate consequence that audiences seem to like it too. But that makes me happy.
What is the one thing that somebody coming out of the play, they've enjoyed it, spent their time listening and everything. What is the one thing that you really want that person to take away from this play?
Oh, that's a good question. I try not to dictate that, because so many people bring so many specific identities and lenses themselves to the play, such that everyone will watch it in a different way. For me though, the most powerful thing for me in this process, I think, has been watching characters who I don't often see on stage, Black teenagers, live and exist as Black teenagers, and that for me has been a huge gift. I imagine, this is the type of play that if I hadn't written it and I was coming to see it, I would be like, oh my God, I've never seen this energy on stage, and I think that's a testament to the company of actors who are just so tight knit, like almost too tight knit. Like they go out all the time. I'm just like, yo, y'all gotta rest. This is y'all got a 4-show weekend coming up. But I think that for me has been the most fun, and like sort of like getting to rewrite the lines like for their bodies and their mouths and their ways of speaking. And I think that's like the energy that you get when you walk into the show. You're gonna get to see this community live together as a community on stage.
Gotcha. For my last question, Dave, for that Black young child, that's looking out in the stands, and they're looking at you guys on stage, and they're like, man, I really want to be like that person or that person, like they look like me. We talked about Black representation and all, but what are 3 tips that you would give to those aspiring actors and actresses, playwrights, directors? What would 3 tips you give them?
It's always so wild when I think about this question, because I'm just like, oh, what did people tell me? I think for me the biggest I would say, okay, I'm going to give a practical tip and a writing tip, I guess. The practical tip is, I think for me, what's allowed me to write as much as I have is as I've been able to find institutions that will support that, whether that's come through education, whether it's come through grad school, whether it's come through sort of development opportunities. I think that is the building a life wherein you can live stably, then just lets you write however you want. And on that, I think that the greatest gift as a writer has been realizing that like the only thing I need to be loyal to is my own imagination. And I think there can be so many pressures, particularly as Black writers, to feel like we have to write a certain way, or we have to write to empower a certain idea, or to not complicate a certain idea, or to not show certain things in front of white people. There's so many pressures. And for me, it's so liberating to realize that like, oh, the most exciting thing I can do for this field, for the field of playwriting, is to be as loyal to my own imagination as possible, because that's the one distinct thing I have control over.
Love that, man. Mr. Dave, thank you so much for coming on and speak with us about this amazing play. Thank you for everything that you did in this play, man. Like I said, nothing but positive things to say about you and the crew. I'm glad to end it off with you, man. Let the people know where they can find this play, tickets, when you got started, and, go from there.
Yes. The play is called Exception to the Rule. It's at Roundabout. We opened May 18th, but we're running now through the end of June. Tickets are only $30, but you can slide into my DMs. We can get you a code. We can make it work. I really hope people come out to see it. We've been having an amazing time doing it. And thank you for having us.
Always, man. Thank you guys again for coming on, speak with us, Dave, Mr. Dave. Thank you so much. And like I said, major blessings to you guys. Continue to, impact the community that you guys are looking to impact. And I hope a lot of people come out to this play and just, have a good time and just be able to just really take in what you guys are talking about. For Rolling Out Star Studio in the Black, this is Malik Brown with my special guest, Dave Harris, and we are out.